I'm Master Wistric of Meridies, and in honor of everybody being on lockdown and isolated, I'm going to talk about gathering in groups of 10 or more and really ignoring social distancing guidelines. Or melee. If you're like me, you were planning to go to Gulf Wars. If you were like me, you were packing up the car when you found out Gulf Wars wasn't going to happen. I have been melee deprived for a little bit now, and I figure if you are too, you're looking to at least think about melee, talk about melee. So here's a class on melee. This is effectively a recreation of the melee class, the first melee class that I took. It was taught by Sir Corby de la Flamme of Atlantia, and it was the most concise, straightforward way of presenting melee tactical choices and maneuvers that I ever saw. So I'm stealing it, and because I am me, this is not going to be concise. Sorry. Corby called his the Book of Four Things, so it's a good enough name. It's a reference to Musashi, of course, and he started it as a heavy class, the four things that heavy fighters can do when they come to engagement. And those in order were charge, wrap the right, wrap the left, and engage lightly. He mapped it over to Rapier by switching everything around. Heavy fighters charge easy. They don't engage lightly as easy. Rapier fighters engage lightly by default. So we're going to talk about engaging lightly, flanking right and left, and charging. So, light engagement. This is line fighting. If you've done Rapier melee, you've done this. It happens every time we get out on the field, just about. And my child's toys here are going to demonstrate what that looks like, in case you need a reminder. Here we go. And now we are at long measure, and we're fighting, and we are trying to hopefully take out one of our opponents without getting taken out ourselves. The thing is, it's not the best option in almost every situation. When you are fighting, you don't stand at one measure and throw shots and hope you win. When you're fighting one-on-one, you don't stand at one measure and just throw shots and hope that this one lands. You maneuver, you adjust measure, you adjust range, you try to take control of tempo. And so why wouldn't you do that as a unit? But we're going to talk this through. How to do it, when to do it, how to do it best. Hey, Gilbert. And then we'll move on from there. So when do you do it? When you need to hold ground, obviously. You can't hold ground if you're not standing in front of it. And if you need to occupy the enemy's attention. If they've got a big force and, you want to keep it from going anywhere, you kind of have to stand in the way. There are different ways of standing in the way, though. So what do? Well, in simple line engagement, you end up across from each other. That's my cat, Gilbert. He's very nice. He's very helpful. You end up standing across from each other, and you throw shots at each other. Things to keep an eye out for are cross shots. Really, the person looking at you has all their swords in the way. They're not going to be vulnerable. Your opportunities are going to be Turtle here hitting Ankylosaurus here when Ankylosaurus' head is turned. When he's lost that, he's got that brief opening, boom, he takes it. If Turtle here lunges, though, at Ankylosaurus, he's going to get stabbed. So lunging is bad. Lunging in this situation is just bad. So you look for openings at hands, really. And occasionally somebody gets out of position and gives you an opening that you can take for a deeper shot. But those are high risk. And really, if you take that deep shot, there's a good chance you're going to get killed. Another thing that people tend to do in these situations is knock swords around. Problem is, if Smilodons? No, that's not it. If Crabby and Sailbacked Reptile here are facing off against each other, their swords are probably engaged. So if Turtle over here is sweeping his swords around, he's probably knocking Crabby's swords aside too. That's going to open up Crabby to be hit by Pink Guy or Hadrosaur. So if you want to suppress your opponent's swords, you do it the same way you do in a one-on-one fight. You put your swords on top of theirs. You put your weapon on top of their weapons, and you leave them there. So that your opponent has to go around your swords to get to you. So that's basic line fighting. But like I said, there are more than one ways to do this. And if what you're looking to do is occupy the enemy force and maybe hold ground, but not too urgently, you can skirmish. Skirmish is simply fighting with more distance between you. It's a more open order sort of fight. It's you are not shoulder to shoulder. In general, you might be within arm's reach of each other, or you might not be. You might be within like sword's reach of each other, so that if Crabby tries to go through here, he at least has to get stabbed by both of these guys. But you notice now that at this spacing, we have our 3 fighters who can occupy their 5, and our other 2 fighters can run around on a flank or something else. Or they can go res. So yeah, if you've got limited numbers, you're holding ground. If you are trying to disrupt the enemy's advancing, and you just want to get out there and stop them, or you want to kind of disrupt what they're doing. If is that the dinosaur from the 3rd Jurassic Park? It comes out here. He's going to be here and threatening, and these 2 are going to kind of focus on him. Crabby and Nemo are going to focus on him, while the rest of the line kind of advances forward. Now, this line is disrupted. As Hadrosaur fades back, Jurassic Park dinosaur here can jump on Crabby if he pulls out of this engagement. It gives you a lot of opportunities to bait an opponent into attacking, but it's also really high risk because you're outnumbered, and if the opponent wants to just crush you, they can. They just have to take the initiative to do it. So, right, if I've skirmished in front of an entire mid-realm army with 1 or 2 other people, and they stopped because we stood there and went, hey, I've got my 10, you've got your 10, I've got my 10. And these people had to, figure out what they were going to do. Were they going to jump on me and come out of line, or what? And so they stood there and waited, and the rest of my army came up behind me and finally reinforced. It was fun. It required a lot of motion, because what's really going to happen is you're going to jump out here. Crabby and Nemo are going to jump at you, and you're going to try to get away from them and pull them out of position, and eventually they're going to remember they need to fall back into line. But while they're falling back, the rest of their line is not really advancing, and you're running down this way, and these people are trying to creep out on you. And you get the army, the other guys, dressing their line more than actually advancing. And, yeah. So if they are trying to take over your territory, skirmishing in front of them can slow them down. Skirmishing is really fun. It's my favorite thing to do. It happens more than just in facing a line, but basically get a bunch of people's attention and then run away and see if they'll follow you. It's a great time. How do you defeat light engagement? How do you defeat a line that is facing you thusly? Wait. Oh, there we go. You go around it, and that's flanking. And that's thing number 2 and thing number 3. And that's the next video.